Whether you like it or not, anime adaptations have become a staple of contemporary entertainment. It's gotten to the point where before watching an anime, we have to ask ourselves the age-old question, is this based on anything? However, in this channel we try to avoid talking about anime in general for one simple reason. Because it's a pain in the asahi to deal with copyright. Okay, well, that too. But also because talking about art and animation isn't something that could be easily gone over. At least not in a way that everyone will agree upon. Art is subjective after all. In the case of the Idolmaster U149, it's not merely about faithfully retelling each character's story, but about capturing the essence of the original work and infusing it with new life through meticulous attention to detail. And that's what we want to talk about in this video. Of course, our interpretation may not click with everyone, and we don't want to spoil the in-depth analysis of the themes of each episode. Good morning everybody, my name is Midnight, and today I'll be accompanying you in viewing the details of the members of the U149 anime in episodic order. U149 is a unit comprised of idols whose heights are all under 149 centimeters, which surely won't run into any issues with being renamed or losing members in the future since all of its characters are frozen in time for all eternity. In short, pun intended, this concept was born as a way to group members by their ages, but the earliest indications of its origin date back to 2011, when Cinderella Girls was still considered a spin-off that relied on 765 Pro idols. And hey, look at that, After 20 was in here too! By 2013, this concept had expanded into a new unit known as Little Marching Band Girls, consisting of 20 members, small in stature, dressed in band-themed costumes. Like U149, this unit consists entirely of younger idols. Aside from Wakaba Kusakabe, of course. Though we wouldn't fault you for doing a double take when you see her behind the wheel. In 2015, during the release of the first Cinderella Girls anime series, we got to see a small glimpse of what U149 would be like in the future with some cameo appearances. 3 years later, things got even more lively for these girls with the event of Hi-Fi Days and the release of the U149 manga, which would eventually get its own anime adaptation in 2023. Oh, that's right, I almost forgot. Each Cinderella game has its own unique timeline, so don't think too much about it if two different adaptations seem to be set in similar locations or time periods. Across the multiple Cinderella Girls anime adaptations, clocks have become somewhat of a recurring motif. And yes, I said multiple. The Cinderella mythos can be quite expansive, but there are recurring themes you can find throughout each one of them, especially in U149. In the first episode, we see Arisu wandering a sort of dreamscape. Right before she wakes up from her dream, we see a clock with 20 numbers on its face, with the hands pointing towards the 3 and the 12. Now what does this mean exactly? The 3 could be in reference to the 3rd Entertainment Division, the agency that U149 is affiliated with, while the 12 could be in reference to the members of U149, who are all 12 years old or younger. It is in this moment where we meet Arisu Tachibana, our diligent protagonist who's all about working hard and being taken seriously. She's taking her first steps into the idol world for some valuable career experience. Arisu is very particular about her name. She'd rather go by Tachibana, feeling that her first name isn't very Japanese or grown up. She could always be seen glued to her tablet doing extensive amounts of research. The only time she lets her guard down is when she expresses her love of strawberries. We're not exaggerating. She'll add strawberries to just about anything she eats. If you thought pineapple on pizza was bad, and it is, you haven't seen nothing yet. The producer of U149 stands at around 160 centimeters. His small stature has led him to not being taken too seriously both by his coworkers and the idols he's meant to be in charge of. He's also the only producer who we get to learn about his family, at least in the anime. Also thanks to the U149 anime, he's the first male producer to be voiced in-game. But again, different media means different timelines, so just think of it as a fun little extra. In U149, we get a glimpse of how someone becomes a producer, which is a bit different from the usual setup in the games. Typically, in the 765 Pro games, the producer is hired directly by the president and jumps right into the job. However, in U149, office workers climb up the ladder to become a producer after 3 years on the job. You know what's really cool about the U149 anime? It's how they use animation to really show off each character's personality. And who doesn't love a personal animation? This effort reflects the determination of the production team to communicate the personality of everyone as an individual. It not only showcases their personalities, but also directly references their lower rarity cards, which are the first ones we receive from these idols in the games. Take the producer character for example. He's always got his shoulders slouched, shirt untucked, and he's constantly fiddling with his badge. To an outsider looking in, he looks unkempt and scatterbrained. But in actuality, he's always on the move and doesn't have time to stop and think about his appearance because he knows that everyone will be judging how he looks regardless of how well he cleans up. So he instead focuses all of his energy into working harder than anyone else. In Risa's case, it's evident that she's all about projecting authority and sassiness. You could tell just by the way she positions herself, slouching forward when wanting to make a point, hands on waist, always crossing her arms and legs like she owns the place. But quite possibly my favorite example is Momoka Sakurai. She's the epitome of an Ojo-sama, isn't she? Every little thing she does just screams elegance and sophistication. For example, in this scene in episode 3, she carefully adjusts her position, making sure she's always seen as respectfully attentive. In fact, this movement belongs to the Ogasawaru Ryu etiquette. Of course, her movement isn't completely perfect, as she's still getting the hang of it. But even so, she does it with as much care and precision as she could possibly muster. This high attention to detail isn't just for the characters either. You may be able to recognize the locations of the show if you've been to certain parts of Japan. It's pretty cool, huh? Must be such a surreal experience for fans to visit these places after seeing them in the show. So, in the case of U149, a lot of the scenes are set in Shibuya, which makes sense since it's such a vibrant and iconic part of Tokyo. But they also throw in some special spots like Shakuji Park, Kasamori Kanan Temple, and even the Ryujin Suspension Bridge. Now, the Ryujin Suspension Bridge is something else, for you see, it's not just any old bridge. It's where Momoka did her legendary bungee jump stunt. Nina loves animal costumes, or better said, kigurumi. Her kigurumi collection is very big. To Nina, kigurumis are what gives her energy. They also help her make friends as they often encourage others to come up and talk to her when they see her wearing them. She's a pro at imitating others and often talks about channeling their feelings to connect with people on a deeper level, as she seeks to be up to par with everyone around her. So how do you develop so many characters in a 12-episode anime? The answer is flexibility. Many changes had to be made during the adaptation of the manga, including the omission of the senpai idols who were there to help guide the girls of U149. While not all of the senpais appear, the ones that do still provide a supporting role that guides each of the idols on their own personal journey. For example, Nina Shiki. With what we have seen, we can establish that Nina does not like to be left alone, and this situation has worsened due to Nina's family situation. So the anime decides to bring in Shiki to provide a little bit of mentoring, in her own unique way. Shiki and Nina share a bond in both struggling with the loneliness that comes from being away from their families. Even though the circumstances are completely different, they have very little connection with their parents, and they deal with that loneliness in different ways. However, Shiki sees the world in one of two ways, funny or boring. To her, giving advice to someone who looks lonely would be a boring solution. So she instead decides to take a more drastic, unconventional approach to push both Nina and her producer forward in what they're struggling with. That's just how Shiki's mentoring works. Though of course, this does lead to some tension between the two. A common theme you'll see in every Idolmaster anime is the second episode where they take PR photos. These episodes have usually served to help the idols better understand what their personal goals are, as well as how to properly express that to the general public, their fellow idols, and their producer. However, in U149, the girls were already well connected with one another before the show began. By the way, U149's producer is the only one who gets dragged into being in the picture along with his idols during the PR shoot, showcasing how they could sometimes view him as less of a producer, but more so as one of their playmates. As the girls finally start getting actual jobs in episode 3 onwards, we begin to see the trials and tribulations these specific girls are faced with going into the idol industry at such a young age. In this episode, we see Miria interact and work alongside the 26-year-old idol Shin Sato, who has made a name for herself through her company-affiliated live streams. However, after a series of mishaps, Miria finds herself accidentally going live on Shin's livestream completely unsupervised, which of course leads to a great panic from everyone helplessly watching from the sidelines. This of course causes a major problem, as none of the U149 girls are old enough to appear on someone else's livestream without a parent's permission first. I'm sure all of you are at least moderately aware of the rules and regulations regarding children and their access to social media sites such as YouTube, as well as what the type of content children are allowed to appear in on the platform. However, in Japan, safety precautions are taken even further, encompassing labor standards, child protection laws, and entertainment industry regulations. For example, the dilemma in the final episode about working late hours stems from child labor laws. In Japan, children under a certain age have restrictions on when and for how long they're allowed to work. So, if this company-affiliated livestream had happened after 8 PM, that could have led to a whole mess of trouble for both Miria and Shin's respective agencies. In both the manga and the anime, Momoka finds herself thrust into the spotlight of a variety show, tasked with bungee jumping to elicit an unexpected reaction. However, the anime adds a bit of a twist, that being that her family's organization, the Sakurai Group, is behind the show, making the situation no longer just a whim of the director, but instead adding a surprise twist in which a wealthy family is helping their daughter break out of her shell. Hilariously enough, something similar happened when Yuri tried to use her family connections to promote herself as an idol back in the day. For Momoka, however, her family name weighs heavily on her shoulders. Raised in an environment where emotions were suppressed, she carries the burden of her family's legacy, while seeking independence and individuality encouraged by her father. Despite the pressure, Momoka is determined to carve out her own identity as an idol, and not just as Sakurai's daughter. She embraces both roles, refusing to abandon either one of them. These are the first idol costumes you obtain when an idol joins your group, all of them representative of a rookie idol's first job. All except for Momoka, however, who wears a Christmas costume instead, since her debut occurred during a Christmas event in December. It doesn't matter what piece of media you see Momoka in, you'll always see her unwavering courage shining through as she gives it her all, no matter the circumstances. The eternal rivalry of red versus blue. It's no coincidence that Arisu accompanied the producer for Momoka's TV debut. In another Christmas event from 2016, which, fun fact, included a crossover with Dearly Stars of all things, Momoka and Risa formed the unit known as Momo Pair. The unit eventually became Momo Pair Berry with the addition of Arisu. However, despite the unit initially being formed by Momoka and Risa, it was Arisu who eventually became Momoka's go-to pair-up partner. Whether it was to showcase the rivalry between the two of them, or perhaps just because they were simply easier to market. What's more, these two made their CD debut at the same time in the 8th installment of the Cinderella Master series. Everyone always asks, is this a pigeon? But no one ever stops to ask, is the pigeon real? Or in this case, the butterfly. Well, obviously not, but to explain Koharu's situation a little better, a little change in perspective is in order. If there is one thing that children excel in, it's their ability to imagine and create from nothingness itself. Imagination stems from the perception of reality and reinvents it, which in turn manifests fantasy. Imagination begins to fade as we get older, and our sense of fantastical wonder can disappear entirely once we enter adulthood. But in reality, that part of us is never truly entirely gone. The extreme case of this is called maladaptive daydreaming, in which one spends the majority of their time living in their imagination. Koharu isn't quite at this point, as she only tends to escape from reality when she becomes overstimulated or stressed out. That's why the butterfly Koharu was visioning disappeared once she was able to calm down. This specific form of symbolism isn't exclusive to just children's imaginations either. Butterflies have been used for various meanings and messages in a wide variety of different stories over the years. This episode also features subtle references to both Snow White and Sleeping Beauty. Jumping ahead to episode 8, we can see several references to an event from the Cinderella game known as Petite Derella Collection. The Petite Derella are chibi versions of the Cinderella Girls characters. This event consists of pitting up to 3 of these chibi idols against one another in an idol fashion show. You can see that the poses that they used in the anime mirror the ones that they do in the game when making an appeal. Even the sound effects are there. Another game reference is the basket. In the game, you could get more points in your appeal when you use an item, which creates a special animation. Something that helps each of the girls stand out from one another in any piece of Idolmaster media is the unique way they'll refer to the producer, which is entirely unique to them, as well as provides a bit of insight on the relationship they have with one another. This can be seen with Kaoru, as her special name for the producer is Sensei. This personality trait can be seen in both of the mobile games as well, specifically from her very first meeting with the producer. The connection of motifs between Arisu Tachibana and the character Alice from Alice in Wonderland is very strong, as you can probably tell. Arisu is often depicted staring into mirrors, which is a theme shared in the sequel to Alice in Wonderland, Through the Looking Glass. In both the case of Alice and Arisu, mirrors are meant to symbolize introspection and self-reflection. The mirror serves as a powerful symbol that invites readers to reflect on their own identities, perceptions, and the complexities of self-discovery. And now, before we wrap things up, here's a little rapid-fire trivia for you. Trainer cameos. Each trainer symbolizes a phase of difficulty of the challenge. For the beginner idols, they work with the rookie trainer. For regular jobs, the trainer or veteran trainer. And for professional idols, the master trainer. During the presentation of U149’s concert performance, you could see 4 empty spots in the chandelier, indicating that there are indeed 4 more members of U149 that have yet to appear in the anime. That of course being Kozue, Yukimi, Chika, and Mai. The posters of the winners of the Cinderella Girls elections can be seen in the office. You can see Shiki dancing to Crazy Crazy with the Million Live collaboration costume on Risa's cell phone. The backs featured on the shelf are all meant to replicate the style and personality of their respective owners. Momoka's outfits from the game are used for Risa in the anime. In the language of flowers, a yellow hibiscus stands for brightness, optimism, and the bonds with friends and family, which is why they can be seen in Nina's episode. If you look closely at the assignments that Haru is doing, it seems she's doing a collection of English exercises that have recently become a requirement for Japanese elementary school students. In both the 2015 anime and U149, you could see Miria's younger brother as well as her mother. Episode 6 contains a reference to the 5th live tour Serendipity Parade medley concert. And finally, here is a list of every single cameo in the U149 anime. New Generations, Lips, Rika Jogasaki, Mary Cochran, Hikaru Nanjo, Reina Koseki, Maiko Takamori, Karen Domyoji, Miyabi Tsukimiya, Ayaka Kishibe, Misaki Eto, Miyu Mifune, Shinsato, Nano Abe, Akane Hino, Sachiko Koshimizu, Miku Maekawa, Seira Mizuki, Yu Ota, Kyoko Igarashi, Aki Yamato, Yuko Hori, Tamami Wakiyama, Marina Saweda, Sane Miyoshi, Yume Narimiya, Yuki Otokura, Minami Nita, Mahiro Kitagawa, Saki Yoshioka! And to think that's only a 5th of the Cinderella cast. The 2015 anime had even more cameo appearances if you can believe it. Gotta squeeze them all in somewhere, I guess. Alright, it's finally time to talk about the last 4 additions to the group of U149 that appeared in a special bonus episode on the official Blu-ray. And since their anime appearance has been delegated to a single episode, we sadly don't have much time to get to know them here. Luckily, that's what the games are for. At 127 centimeters, she's the shortest idol in Cinderella Girls, as well as the shortest female idol and overall youngest idol in the entire Idolmaster franchise. In case you're wondering, the only idol shorter than her is Kanon from Side M. She typically hangs out with fellow 9-year-old idols Kaoru and Nina. Of the 3 of them, she's currently the only one who remains unvoiced. For now anyway. Chika, Hikaru, and Reina are often associated with 3 classic Japanese TV genres: Magical Girl, Super Sentai, and Villainess. Being another unvoiced idol, she doesn't have a whole lot of character development at the moment. The most notable thing about her would probably be her very impressive ears. They can be seen in every single one of her art cards, even when she's sporting hoodies or headphones. Despite her unique talent for riding unicycles, very few illustrations actually show her riding one. She used to be a child actress and is known for her maturity despite her age. Kozue received her voice actor after winning the 8th Cinderella Girl general election. Known for her bright eye color and nearly non-existent pupils, Kozue is often depicted as sleepy and is frequently seen alongside the even lazier Anzu Futaba. It seems that the concept in which Kozue was created is that of a Denpa girl. The term Denpa originally emerged in the 1990s to describe flamboyant individuals who often daydream and live in their own personal fantasies, originating from a delusion where people believe their actions are controlled by electromagnetic waves. She has a soft voice but excels in vocal lessons, showing skill in both rhythm and pitch. Additionally, she has a noticeably large lung capacity, being able to blow up balloons faster than other members in her age range. Yukimi collects black cat-themed items due to her fondness for her own cat, Pero. Many of her idol costumes also feature black cat motifs. Her connection with Kozue becomes more relevant after the 8th Cinderella election, as both of them receive voices thanks to this event, which will likely lead to more appearances of the 2 of them together in the future. And with that, we are now properly acquainted with the members of U149. We're really sorry that this video took so long, but so much has been happening, both behind the scenes and in the world of IMAS. I would have liked to have talked more about Risa or Haru, but again, I don't want to spoil too much of the manga. The Cinderella branch can be one of the most daunting ones to discuss in any capacity, but I hope that this video served as a good jumping off point for those who may have been interested in U149 after seeing the recent anime. If you have anything that you'd like to add to this discussion, feel free to do so in the comments below. Personally, I'm really pleased with how the U149 anime turned out. The core concept of the Cinderella Girls branch as a whole is that a great idol can be literally anyone from any background, even in places you least expect it. Navigating the entertainment industry at such a young age can be a daunting task. Trying to be taken seriously, as well as finding trustworthy adult confidants, are but a few of the topics highlighted throughout this show. I'm really grateful for how maturely they handle these topics, and I hope we were able to maintain those same mature and positive values with this video. For now, it's on to the next stage. Until next time, everyone.